Welcome everybody. So we are continuing with the elements of art, and today we're going to look at value. So how light or dark something is. So make sure you're following along and highlighting. This particular vocab or concept has a little bit of extra stuff that we're going to be adding in. So I want to make sure that you are getting the information for a tint and for a shade. Okay, so make sure you're paying attention to that as well. So high-keyed value is describing colors or values that are light tints created by using white and mixing it with a color. So that creates like pastel colors. So a tint is a lighter value of a hue, that's another name for color, created by mixing a color with white. So pink is a tint for red, okay? So if it's high keyed, it just means that it's using a lot of tints. It's got a lot of pastels going. Now, I realize using a black pen to do high keyed isn't gonna work out very well. So you're gonna wanna use some colored pencils to try to color in your artwork, but I wanna make sure that you have all the definitions and everything. So put a little star next to tint and then underline it to make sure that you know what it is, okay? So a tint is a lighter value of a color or hue, and it's created by mixing a color with white. So pink is the tint for red. So these cups here, so maybe you wanna draw, you know, another cup, or maybe you wanna draw a vase and you want to add in, you know, a flower or something, right? When you go to add in the color to it, just make sure that you are adding in a lighter color, like blend white over the top of it to make sure that it's high keyed, okay? Low keyed is just the opposite of that. So it's describing colors or values that are dark shades, so usually created by the use of black. So a shade, and you're gonna star next to that. So a shade, and highlight under it. A shade is a darker value of a hue or color created by mixing a color with black. So an example of a shade is midnight blue is a shade of blue. So if you add a little bit of black to the blue and make it darker, that is gonna make a shade, okay? So make sure you've underlined and highlighted. So over here, this artwork by Maria Martinez, this is a low-keyed artwork. There is a lot of pattern work on here, but she does a black on black technique. So one area is really shiny and one area is kind of a matte finish, but they're really close together in value. So that is a low-keyed value. So it doesn't have to be specifically black. It could be something else, but if you were gonna make an artwork that had some areas that were similar in, you know, that were darker and were similar in value, add that in over here. So it might be like a purple and a really dark purple, or a blue and a really dark blue, or a green and a really dark green, right? Or it might be a dark blue, a dark green, and a dark purple all together. So the last one on our list is value contrast. So contrast is the difference between two things. So if you have value contrast, that is the dark and light values placed close to each other. So black in proximity to white creates the greatest value contrast. So this right here, this design stands out a lot because of the value contrast. So this has a low contrast up here because it's a black on black technique. And because this one has really dark blacks and really white whites, this one creates a high value contrast. So if you were gonna do something that had some areas that were white and some areas that were black to really stand out, what would you make? Now you could do that, like I have a black pen, so I could do that. But like, would you wanna have something that has like little polka dots where it's like, you know, whites and blacks only? What would it be? Okay, So make sure you've highlighted things, make sure that you've done some drawing, and make sure, at least on this one, that you've colored it in either with the high key or pastel colors, the low key dark colors, and make sure you have something with a high value contrast. All right, thanks everybody.